Big Zay.
Morning, Brad.
Morning, boys. What's going on?
You know, Brad, I have realized that I probably put far too much of my attention and interest in the injury list just because I think that in this case, it may be with a new administration coming in and questions about a guy like Jalen Johnson in the offseason. I was just waiting and waiting to get the first injury list to figure out what's wrong with the guy, how he injured himself. I never felt we got great clarity on it. And I still am feeling like a lot of the different stuff that has been coming down, maybe because there's been so many different injuries and so many bad ones, it just it makes me look forward to and search the thing. And I can't help but notice that every time I think they mention DeAndre Swift, it seems like it's a different injury. It seems like he's had like 1,000 different leg injuries, and I don't know if they're losing track of it. And that could be me responding to a hand/hamstring injury or groin/calf injury. It's just some seemingly contradictory information, and you just can't figure out, well, then what's really the problem?
Well, Swift was on the report for a few weeks with a groin/hip, and it's now just hip. But here's the good news: for a stretch there, Swift had been not practicing on Wednesdays, and then they'd get him going in limited fashion. And of course, with the exception of the one game at Cincinnati, he answered the bell. It's only the hip now, and he was limited. So he's on the practice field participating yesterday on a Wednesday. I would take that as a good sign, a sign that the time off from that Bengals game has helped him feel a little bit better.
Brad, up in Minnesota, Jonathan Grenard is a big part of that defense. He was injured to the shoulder in the third quarter last Sunday. He did not practice on Wednesday. His availability is up in the air, but there's some people in Minnesota speculating that he might not play. How much will his presence or availability affect the way that you view this game?
Well, he's important to that defense. There's no question about that. But the Vikings were missing some key guys the first time around as well. I think Van Ginkel actually got injured in the initial meeting with the Bears, but Grenard was he's a player that's been a perfect fit for what Brian Flores wants to do. He's one of their better pass rushers. There's no question about that, and he's had some success against the Bears over the last couple of years. 3.5 sacks against them, 3 sacks in 3 games as a member of the Vikings against the Bears. So Grenard's availability is a question mark. They should have Harrison Smith, right? Did not have the veteran safety in the first game. But the Bears are keeping an eye on this when Ben Johnson notes that Grenard's availability is a bit of a question mark for the game in his remarks yesterday.
So how do we look at all of these particular days off? Byard and Grady Jarrett with the rest days, that's totally different. But with 8 guys out, 6 of them you do kind of wonder about. And, I get it. Like, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, those are guys that have been on the injured list and then have played. So they've got a good track record with that. Tyreek Stevenson's still down with the shoulders. I guess what I'm saying is, how do you differentiate between sort of a maintenance day, if I could use that word, versus a fresh injury day? And who got injured? Someone got hurt last Friday or was suddenly on the injury list. Was that
that's Ja'Day Walker.
Yeah.
He's got a concussion. Yeah, I mean, Walker's barely played on special teams this season. As I look at this injury report, there's really no new concerns right now when you talk about a rest day for Byard and Grady Jarrett, so you'll see them out there today. Brisker hurt the back in the game, so you knew that was going to be there. DJ Moore and Roma Dunze, they've been listed on the report for a couple weeks now, and they ramp up as the week gets going, and they're out there. The concerning one here, Stevenson's had the shoulder previously. The concerning one is T.J. Edwards, missed all last week, is a DNP. Yesterday, that's not a good sign. Doesn't mean he can't get back out there in time later this week, but you would have hoped he would have been limited. So the ones to keep an eye, I think we're seeing a lot of names. I don't see major reason for concern at this point. The names to keep an eye on later today are going to be Edwards and Brisker.
Brad, yesterday hearing from Caleb Williams talk about spacing and timing and depth of routes and talking about sounding like a technician, and then later in the day, or maybe it was just before, you see that Pro Football Focus and different people have different interpretations of their grading system, but they essentially, the last 2 weeks, Caleb Williams is their highest overall graded quarterback at PFF. Do you connect the dots there? Do you see a quarterback? We talk a lot about the fourth quarter heroics and the clutch gene, but the attention to detail in the entirety of the game, and then you see how he's being graded by PFF, who grades such things. Are we seeing Caleb Williams become more of a technician?
I just think we're seeing Caleb Williams slowly get a better feel for the offense and what he's being asked to do and how plays should unfold against certain coverages and what to look for. So you're seeing him gradually become more comfortable, and that's what they would hope. You're looking for growth throughout the course of the season. And as they get going here, we'll find out how much of the growth and the production and what the Bears have been able to put up offensively across the board, not just Caleb Williams, is a result of them being more than halfway through the season, and is partially attributable to playing some really bad defenses, right? Like they've been able to take advantage of a schedule that before the season started looked like it would be much more challenging than it's been, and it's been packed with some cupcakes in terms of opposing defenses.
This segment with Brad Biggs is sponsored by Estwing Professional Tools, made in the USA for over 100 years, estwing.com. So we know, Brad, that the Bears have a share of first place in the division right now. None of the tiebreaker stuff kicks in till the end of the year when you see how everyone's done. They're playing in the division this week. Minnesota, huge game for them to just try to get back into the division. They're a game behind at 500. And I just wonder, when you look at this game for the Bears, what is the theme of it to you? Is it the Bears kind of emphasizing the fact they're in contention? Is it the first time that the new head coach is facing an opponent for the second time? Is there an element of sort of revenge over dominating a team and then finding a way to lose at home? And the Bears are different now. Is there any element of this that jumps out to you as sort of the theme of this game?
I think the element is probably that they're in the thick of the race. You want to be in this mix. You've got to step up each and every Sunday. You've got to deliver each week. The Bears really can't afford a setback. And listen, can they talk about being this team that can compete to win the division if they go to 0-3 on Sunday? If you're 0-3 in the division halfway through, Would they be out of the division race? No, not by any means, but would you take them seriously as a threat to win the thing? If they go 0-3 in their first half of the division schedule, I don't know. That wouldn't knock them out of the wild card race, but I just think it's the next game, and they got to keep going. And I don't know that Ben Johnson is necessarily looking for a theme from week to week. They've got a good thing going, having won 6 of their last 7 games, and they've got to keep it going against a team that there's some bad mojo for the Vikings this season. I think when you look at the quarterback situation and sort of some of the fallout from the quarterback situation, and a team where everything was running so smoothly for a couple of years has hit some rough times, and that's a team that won 14 games last year that now has an immense amount of pressure on a second-year quarterback who's going through a rookie season experience in terms of playing for the first time. And it just seems like things are a little bit off for the Vikings now. Now they've still done some terrific things. You talk about going into Ford Field and taking one from the Lions. That's a heck of a victory, but there's just been some things that appear to be a little bit off for the Vikings as a whole as they sit here right now, 4-5.
9 games into the season, what has been your evaluation of Dennis Allen, not necessarily game to game, but overall, Brad, from where he started, what he inherited, dealing with the injuries through last Sunday's game?
Yeah, I think it's been very positive. Defensive coordinator is only going to be as good as the players that he's got, and Dennis has been put in a position that happens from time to time. There's no way this is the first time that he's gone through a year where a bunch of his top guys have been sidelined for much of the season. Like, you coach long enough, you run into that very scenario. So considering what he's had to work with and how he's gone about it, I think it's very positive because and it's an interesting study because they are terrible in some defensive metrics, right? Some of the things you look at, you're like, oh boy, this isn't good. Difficult way to play football and have success. And then you check out some other metrics, and you're like, wow, this is where you find some of the better defenses in the league. It's almost like there's not a lot of categories where there's middle ground for that Bears defense. But when you talk about third down, when you talk about the red zone and things of that nature, and then you talk about the takeaways, they have been terrific. And when you can be good on the money down, which is third down, they're 6th in the league right now at 34.4%. You can be solid in the red zone. They're 12th right there. And you can lead the league in takeaways. That can help you cover up a lot of other things that haven't been as pretty, like the total yardage, the run defense, the yards per pass play by attempts, the pass rush, which through the first 5-6 games was clearly not what they had hoped. You take the ball away like that, you force the opponent to get off the field on third down, and things are going to be better for you.
What are you seeing from Minnesota? When you look at that team, I mean, J.J. McCarthy has had his downs, had his up against the Bears, really. But I'm just curious, when you talk to people about them, when you look at them, what is it that you're seeing from them?
Well, I think the Vikings, and we can get into a little bit more of this tomorrow, but the Vikings have got to find a way, and not just against the Bears, they've got to find a way to run the football. If they can get things going with Aaron Jones, and they can keep McCarthy out of some of these second and long and pure passing situations on third down, that's going to make life a lot easier for their play caller and their young quarterback. And when they've struggled to do that this season, he's had a very tough time, and things can get sideways. And they needed to do that when they were playing Carson Wentz as well. And then on the flip side, I'm kind of curious about the Flores defense stopping the run. They have been very good at it at times. You talk about holding the Eagles to 45 yards rushing. That win I referenced that they had at Ford Field a couple weeks back, Detroit had 20 carries for 65 yards. On the flip side, they've been really bad against the run, giving up 207 in a road game against the Chargers, 218 to the Falcons. I think the Ravens hit them for about $152 last week, which is somewhat in the neighborhood of what Baltimore ran on the Bears for. So what is that going to look like? Because the Bears' rushing offense has changed more than anything that either of these teams do since week one. You look at that week one game and you say, what's the biggest difference since week one? Well, the Bears are running the hell out of the ball now, guys. Since the bye week, starting with the game at Washington, the Bears are averaging 5.92 yards a carry. They've been almost a wagon running the football. So the Vikings were able to prevent the Bears from running in week one with a lot of too high shell looks. They didn't need an extra defender in the box, and that really threw the Bears for a loop. Like, you talk to their offensive coaches, you know, what got sideways in this first game? Well, they knew they needed to be able to run the Vikings out of some of that too high stuff, and they were unable to do it. Now, Bears have been able to run against too high. They've been able to run against 8-man front. So that's the biggest change for either of the two teams since the opener.
Brad, what did you make of Ben Johnson explaining yesterday, being asked by our Mark Grote about the players' mantra of living in the known? What did you make of that?
Yeah, man, you guys gave that a long segment already. The known, is that they are capable of success, that they can go out, that what they're asked to do is going to work, and if they go out and execute it, they're going to have success. But I'm kind of with Dustin a little bit, like,
define it.
Yeah. But they're, they've found some success. They've found a way to build off it. And this is a team what was one of the things we talked about way back when they evened things up at 500. Then they get to 3-2. What was one of the things we talked about? Can this young football team, and it's not the youngest in the league or anything, but new group, handle prosperity? Because for the longest time, when you've seen the Bears win 2 or 3 games in a row, it didn't last. They couldn't. And 2020 was a great example of that. They start the season 5-1, and then the wheels came off, and eventually they dropped the transmission. And they're able to back into the playoffs at 8-8. But that team couldn't handle prosperity. It was a bit of a paper tiger with close wins against some very mediocre teams. But this team has proven it can handle the prosperity, that it can have success, and however they need to frame it, to be able to turn the page from one Sunday to the next quickly while making improvements, do it. And as long as it's working, keep doing it.
Sadly, we're out of time, Brad, because I really wanted to ask you about the impact on the running game of Caleb. 2 weeks running now, he's gained 50-plus yards. when the Bears had a really dominant running game, it was last time was probably with Fields, who was single-handedly running all over the field. You know.
Sorry I didn't ask you that, Brad. We'll talk tomorrow.
Just kind of adding to it. We can get into it tomorrow and have a great day.
Have a
See
great
you, buddy.
day.
That is our guy.
Thanks for feedback.
Brad Biggs. He is the football man of the Chicago Tribune.